Okay, so the next part of this is to go from Photoshop to Maya, um, um, in order to take a character that I've designed, or you can design yourself, to create a skeleton or a basic 3D character, from which to create poses in Maya, in which to then take back into Photoshop and sketch over the top of. Again, it's not a substitute for doing the animation, the hand-drawn animation of drawing. It's always good to draw from scratch all the time as practice. But sometimes, if you're short for time, or if it's a particularly complex character, this can be just a handy way of doing that. So what I'm going to do is take a character that I've sketched earlier on, which is this guy here, and I'm going to do a rough skeleton based on him in Maya, and I'm going to then build a kind of basic maquette from that, pose it up in Maya using the IK handles, and then bring it back into Photoshop so I can sketch over the top of it. There's going to be no sort of massively complicated rigging or anything. It's all quite basic stuff, because the whole point of this is for it not to be time consuming. So we'll just crack on with it, and I'll show you how it works. So this is the character that I've got here. I've made this so that it's 1024, 2048. Doesn't matter so much what the size is, as long as it's not totally massive. So when we go into Maya, I'll just get rid of this ball that I've just created before. And what I want to do is, so I want to create an image plane in my camera. So if I let's have a look here. Do I want to create an image plane? Probably yes, I do. Let's see. So if I go to my let's go for a front view, and if I select the camera, and I want to create an image plane. So if I go to environment, and in the environment tab, you'll see there's the create button, and you get your image plane created there, which is currently selected, which is why it's green. And I want it to be an image file, so I'm going to grab my image file that I created, which is this guy here, and he's going to pop in there in the image plane. Now, one of the things you can do is you can create change the alpha on this by moving the alpha gain backwards and forwards, and it'll make it semi-transparent, which is pretty handy. And now my image plane is being created. You can see it's a physical object in the scene there, which you can actually move around, which is pretty handy. And now I've got this, it means that I can use it as a basis to build a character, basic skeleton maquette, in order to take it back into Photoshop. So let's just create something pretty basic. We'll just create my main body shapes here, and so I'm just going to create a bit of a midriff in there, and there. And I'm just going to block out all these parts, like the shoulders, the waist, just very roughly. Let's have a look, just with cubes. So I'm just going to move this to there, and these are going to act as my basic body parts. There we go. There's not much to say at the moment because just building stuff. Maybe some bits where I need to cut through an image, cut through the cube along the ZX plane, because I just need to add a bit of width, because his legs get pretty thin, so I need to add in some curves on this guy here. Let's have a look and create a new cube. Let's just create a foot in here. so far I'm just concerning myself with how it looks from this particular angle. I'm going to just tie that off there, just slice through the middle of the cube using this the cut faces option. Just gives me a slice just in the middle there, which I can then use to widen things out if I need to get this thick to thin, if I need things to be thicker in the middle. It's fine for the middle stuff here for the torso because they're big enough, but his legs are really skinny. It's just going to cause problems if I do really thin cubes and stuff like that. And I'll probably do some similar approach to the arms. I'm just going to grab that there. And I'm going to just take it there, scale it a bit, just to create something. I might create a sphere on his shoulder. So I'm just building up these basic shapes here. I'm going to grab that one, turn it around. That's what I'm going to do, is leave it straight for the time being. Going to create another cube for the hand. Again, these aren't sort of going to be really complex shapes in themselves, but as a group, as a set, as a body made of these shapes, this can get pretty complicated. And then finally the head, cube that. So that. And then I'm gonna again slice it through the middle, just to get a good shape on it. Okay. Just gonna parent these up. Just going to parent these together. So I've parented the legs under this torso bit here, and I've parented the arm under the upper part of this torso. I'm probably going to parent the head to that as well, and everything's parented underneath. And then going to go in here, and I need to move this to the center because I want to mirror a couple of things. And to make sure it's all looking correct. So it's probably a bit thin there at the minute, obviously. So I can probably, let's just parent these properly. So parent the hand to the forearm, parent the forearm to the upper arm. Each time I'm selecting one thing, what you do is you select the child of the parent first. So you select, I'm going to parent this upper arm to its shoulder, and then I'm going to press P. And then if I want to parent the shoulder to the torso, again, it's already parented, so we're fine. And I'm going to do the same for the foot. So I'm going to parent the foot, select the foot, and parent it to the calf there, or the lower leg. Select the lower leg, parent it to the upper leg to the hips, which is already belongs to. So that's fine. It just makes that a little bit easier to move things around. So I've got this guy here. He's probably a bit thin. I just need to maybe space this out, because basically when I turn him, he's not going to be, it might not be too bad actually. I'm going to duplicate this leg. The reason why I've done that, parented it the way I've done it, is once I've duplicated the leg, because the foot and the lower leg is parented to it, it means once I duplicate the upper leg, because everything's parented to it, or is its child, that will be duplicated as well. And then what I can simply do is, now I've duplicated it, I go to the X axis in the translate and just turn off minus, make it plus 0.523, and there it is, it's on the other side. I can do the same with the arm, just duplicate that, because these are children of the shoulder. Once that's duplicated, they are also duplicated. Again, go over to here, take away the minus, and that works like that. But I can also, because it needs to be, and I need to do this one for this side as well, I also need to scale it in the x-axis, minus, no, in the z, no, what am I doing wrong? It's probably, I need to do that, and then I also need to turn that to 12 positive. there as well. There we have. So it should be, yes, that is a mirror. Yeah. So what I had to do there was I had scaled it in the x-axis, do everything the opposite way around. The x-axis down here is where I've moved it from. It was moved from minus 0.81. I then moved it to plus 0.81 as it should be, not 13. And then scaled it minus scale, so it became a mirror image. But because this was also turned through 12 degrees, I need to take the zoom minus off that. So if this is minus 12 degrees, this must be plus 12, and then you will get your mirror image. I'm just going to do the same to the leg there. I just need to make it x minus, it needs to be into minus here as well, just to make it the opposite, and you'll see the foot change, or should do if I'm right. There you go, so the foot's changed there. So if I go into the 3D view, I've got my guy here, and there's some attributes I still need to sort out because he's not exactly like this guy that I've drawn. This all has to be done by eye. You know, if you've designed the character, then you're going to be the one that knows how it works. I'm just going to take a few faces, make a few more cuts here as well. Nothing major, but again, just using this cut tool in there. And I'm just going to grab these verts here. Just going to create a bit of volume in his torso. I'm just going to take his shoulders in a bit there. Just going to create a basic body shape out of this guy here. At the moment, you look at it from the side, you can't tell which is the front and which is the back. So I'm just going to turn and going to obviously have to make his feet. If I select the whole guy and I click up here to component mode, and then I click on the vertex point, because I've again it's using the parent system, if I've selected the parent, everything underneath will obey the component mode. So I collect on the so if you are selecting the vertex in the component mode, then it means everything underneath the parent will also be put into that component mode as well. So I'm going to make his feet a bit longer. I'm just going to grab this and just pop them into there. What I can also do, in fact, what I will do is I think what I'll do is I'm going to merge it. So I'm going to go to Mesh, Combine the whole thing together. Whoops, in fact I'll do that when it's on 0, so as not to make a mess of it. Just going to put it back on its origin. So I'm going to go to Mesh and combine everything together. The reason for that is so that I can turn on the symmetry in the move tool. So I'm going to use the world symmetry, and it should mean that when I start making adjustments to this, if I have the right thing selected, it'll make adjustments to both sides. So I'm just going to make a couple of changes here. And just turn his feet out. I'm going to start changing a few things here. Just give him some shape in his legs. And I'm going to move his legs up. I'm going to use, because I don't want to select loads of stuff, I want to select up his legs. I'm going to select these verts here, which selects all of his legs and the lower parts, or all of his lower legs and the lower part of his upper legs. I'm going to press Shift and the less than icon. I think it's the less than icon. If I click on that, it'll grow the selection. You can also find it in, if you go to Polygon, if you go to Select and Grow Selection Region, it's that one there, and it'll grow the selection region. It's pretty handy. And that means I can just move that to there. Just going to move his hips forward a bit. And I'm also going to just turn these out a little bit. So I'm just going to give his legs a bit of a turn, just a bit, just widen them up a bit. And let's have a look at him there. I think probably what I need to do is just widen this bit in here. And let's have a look. and I need to just take his arms back a bit because he's got kind of quite a he's kind of round shouldered, but he needs to be just need to move his arms back a bit. And I also just want to pop a bend in his arm as well, which I probably should have done before I merged it. There you go. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this bend in his arm. There, he's got his hands there, like that. So just got to put a little bit of a bend in there. And then finally I think let's see, bring his tummy out maybe a little bit. Although his tummy goes in, doesn't it? Okay, well let's just create a bit of a head shape. And just, again, very basic, nothing major. Just enough to signify the head in there. So now we've got our basic shape here, our basic maquette model. You can make it as complex or as basic as you want. It's all combined together. It's going to delete the history of this. If I can put, there you go. I'm going to delete its history, and I'm going to create a skeleton for it. It's going to be pretty basic. The reason I'm going to create a skeleton rather than just using parented objects is because I can take advantage of the IK that's involved in that. Just notice that his head is not quite in the right place. So I'm just going to take that, just make sure it's centered. I'm just going to turn off symmetry because it's getting confused. And I'm just going to center his head. Right, in it goes. Right, so so I'm going to just create some basic a basic IK chain. Move that in there. On a skeleton. So let's get the skeleton first. I've got it as a shortcut key down here. All you have to do to create the shortcut for anything up here, if you're in your custom mode, is just to go to, you need to, for skeleton stuff, it's in animation, go to skeleton, holding down shift and control, click on skeleton, just click on join tool, and it will create it. Create any shortcuts that way. It's quite a handy thing to do. Don't need this for the time being. What I need to do, I'm just going to delete that one there because I've already got it. Click on the skeleton tool, and I'm going to just create a basic skeleton. It's not going to be particularly complex. So just going to go ahead, holding down shift so I can get straight skeleton bones. I'm going to just create all the parts that I need, which is that's the leg. I've deliberately made the foot longer, as if you've got to treat that as if it's pointing down. Press G. Sorry, when you finish doing a bone chain, press enter. Press G to go back to your original. Go back to the original bone and click on it. Now you can start creating other bones springing off from that as well. Then there's the spine that I'm creating there through the middle, which will go to the head. Again, pressing enter and G, and then there's the torso, collarbone, and there. Just roughly gonna create this as a straight line. Usually I try and make these like I hold down shift, which gives me straight lines, and then after I've done that, I rotate them into place. And they're not always going to be correct. So what you can do is holding down shift creates nice straight bone lines and can save problems with your IK chains. To increase and decrease the length, you've got a couple of choices. Translate, if you hold down B, for instance, holding down B and middle clicking will increase and decrease the any of these values in the channel boxes. And I can't see the bones particularly well at the moment, so I just need to show those. So I'm just going to go into display, animation, joint size, and just going to increase the joint size just a little so I can see it. So there we go into translate. So like I say, what I do sometimes do is click on the channel, hold down B, it'll give you a little warning. Just middle click and move left and right, and it'll increase and decrease any value you have in there. Going to do the same, just going to move that along there to there, so it's in line. And again, just going to increase that. Whoopsie, what's going on there? Yeah, there it is. And all this is doing is it's saying the distance from this bone to its parent is 3.78, which is why it's lengthening the bone there. And then finally, I'm just going to turn that bone with a hand, and I'm going to repeat the same process with the other ones. So everything's pretty much in line there, to be honest. It's just the legs. I'm just going to move the hips forward a wee bit to there, and then rotate it back a bit. The reason I rotate it and I don't move it is because I don't want stuff to go awry. I want this nice and clean here. I don't want to have loads of different weird crazy things going on, because IK handles really like to have nice simple bones to deal with. And if you start to move the bone, if I take this bone and I try and create a bent knee with it, what you'll find is it's changing the translates and not the rotates. It's the rotates that I want to change. This is why I'm rotating into position. Maybe things have moved on for the last 15 years, but this is just a habit I got into just to make it a bit easier. And I'm just going to rotate that into position, just decrease the length on it a bit. Whoops. Oh, what's it doing that for? There we go. And I'm going to rotate the foot in there. As my wife creeps past. And just gonna move my toe to the end there. That's it. So I've got my skeleton. I'm going to click. If you're using a skeleton, if you click on any part of it, if you want to move up the hierarchy, and this goes for any hierarchies, and a skeleton is just the same as anything else, you can click on any part of it and just click up, and it'll move up the hierarchy until it gets to the top. And that's why it's just a bit easier than trying to search around and find out where the main parent is. So create the skeleton. Now I just need to mirror the joints in here. So if I go to skeleton and I go to mirror joint, let's take potluck. No, it didn't work, so I'm going to have to open the options box. So we go to skeleton, skeleton mirror joint, and if I'm going to be mirroring through the, let's look down here, the Z, so Z and the Y plane, or the YZ plane. So it's easier to grasp which of these it's going to be by drawing a line down. Imagine drawing a rectangle or a square using only a line across the Z-axis in this instance and the Y-axis, and that would enable you to draw a square. And that is, imagine that as being the mirror. The square is the mirror, and then when I apply, what you get is the mirror image through that axis. So now that's set, I can just grab everything and just do it. I don't think I'm going to bother renaming the bones because it's not that important at the moment. So I'm going to select the skeleton, I'm going to select my mesh here, and I'm going to go to skin, smooth bind, and just hope that that works and everything turns purple. I think for this image plane I'm just going to hide it for the time being because it's kind of getting in the way, and I don't really need this grid for now. Well, I'll use it as a floor actually. So here's my skeleton in here, and I'm going to move it up here to there so his feet are on the floor. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I set preferred angle. I'm going to start putting IK chains on this, or IK handles on it. It'll do some weird stuff. If I just go to creating an IK handle, if I go to skeleton IK handle tool, and if I just click on these things here, you'll notice that arms pop when I do that, and it's kind of annoying, and it means that things can move unpredictably. The key thing to do then is, whoops, I'll just redo, edit, redo, move, is to right click on the joint and go to set preferred angle. Now, if I go to assume preferred angle, you will notice that all the joints will pop into what they call their preferred angle. Because I rotated them and I didn't move them, they will go into that. They will go into the original angles that they had when they were first made. So I want to undo that, and I want to set the preferred angle. Now each joint has an angle that it prefers, and that means when I go to the IK handle tool, the IK handle tool will use the preferred angle of the joint. If this preferred angle isn't the one that it's in, it will snap to it when you apply the IK handle tool. So I'm going to go to skeleton, IK handle tool, going to click on a shoulder, yep, and then wrist, and you'll notice it doesn't move, it didn't pop, and that's because we set the preferred angle. And I'm going to do the same for each of these bits here. It's not going to be a complicated rigging process. I'm just using this to create a maquette model. Now, let's just see. Just going to move this. There you go. That's fine. And then I'm going to do the same for the feet and the chest and the spine there as well. Although the spine is straight, so I don't know what it's going to do. It's going to do nothing. So that's one to do, is to make sure I'm just gonna rotate this chest in here and rotate. The IK handle tool does need a bend in the joint. If there's no bend, because the IK handle tool is there to bend stuff, if there's no bend, then it doesn't know what to do. So again, go back to set preferred angle, okay, and then I'm going to go back to my IK joint handle tool. I've already got it in my custom tools there, so I'm not going to go through the menu. Going to click on those, and there, now I have a joint there. So let's have a look and see how these are doing. Going to move them around. Now there is a few bits and pieces which are joined to each other which I don't want. Just going to go select these verts in the chest. I think the rest will be fine, but these are always problem points when it comes to rigging. Going to select these vertices. Going to go to my window and my general editors and component editor. And in the component editor you'll find the smooth skins tab, and you should find, well, I tell you what, it will help if I name the joint, because in this instance I do need to name them. I wasn't going to bother because it's not that important for this particular task, because it's not about doing detailed rigging. Whoops. Let's have a look. So I've named the joint, so when I go into the component editor I can find the joint that I want to weight everything to, which will be called chest, in here if it has named it. Where did it go? Am I going blind? I don't know. Let's have a scan. I think spine. Yeah. Spine. So it's alphabetical, so it'll be the last one in the thing, or should be. Where did it go? I'm going to change the options to hide 0 columns. I'm going to close it and reopen it. And there it is. Right, closing and reopening. It doesn't update automatically, so I'm just going to select all these like an Excel spreadsheet, press 1, and that'll give full control to the spine bone in there. And that means what should happen is when I grab a wrist and move it into place, now it's not affecting that bit. So now what I can do is I can grab, now these are all controlled by IK handles, these ones here. I can just start moving them around and create a pose for my guy here. Let me see. So let's have a look. Now let's see. If I just grab these, I can move his knees around, his legs, by his ankles, grabbing the IK handle tool, just move these up around. Now what you would normally do is normally have a bit more of a complex system here, in order to in order to be able to control things a bit easier. And you might want to set up a bunch of locators and constrain the IK handles to them. That's possible. For this, I'm just using this. It's really just to set up something in Photoshop, and it's a maquette. If you want to roll the IK handles, you get a twist in the foot like this. Again, click on roll. I'll click on the IK handle. I think it's probably this one. It could be twist. I'm wrong. It's twist. Click on twist. It doesn't work either. Which one is it? Hang on. Neither of them work. I don't know why. I don't know why. If we just grab the bone and twist it, that's a lot easier. So just double click on this. I'm using the local rotate mode as well. That's very handy. So I want to just put a basic pose together, 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. I'm just going to grab these joints, move things where I need them to be. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I am going to constrain these feet because it's going to need it. I'm going to create locators. There's a locator there. I'm going to create a couple of these because I want to be able to move him around without moving his feet around. So I'm going to select each locator, turn on snap, snap it to his ankle, snap the other one to his ankle, and now with these IK handles, I'm going to just parent it to this locator. And again with this, I'm going to parent the IK handle to the locator. You should constrain them rather than parent them, because actually what happens is if you move the IK handle by mistake, it will just move away from the locator. Normally you constrain these, but again for this purposes I'm not too fussed. Now what that's done is it means I can grab his waist and I can start moving him around and his ankles will stay where they are, which is pretty handy. In fact, I'm just going to do, it's so handy, I'm going to do it to his toes as well. So I'm going to create a new locator, turn on snap again, and again to this, and I'm going to take my IK handles, select the respective locators, and I'm going to create these. So now I've fixed his feet where I want them to be. I want his feet to be there. Now I can just move these locators around actually, so that it's just easier to move his feet. And in fact, I'm going to do parent his toes to his ankle, which would be handy. Now it's just a bit easier just to shift things around. And I think roll should work. I don't know why. It should do. No, it doesn't. I think it's an IK solver issue. IK solver, IK, okay. Let's have a look. What's going on with this? IK handle, snap handle. Single chain, rotate plane solver. That's what I want. And then when I go to twist, it'll twist. Yes, that's what it is. Okay, so it's a rotate plane solver. It used to be that the rotate plane solver was on, I think, by default, which it's not anymore for these. So it's in the IK solver attributes. It's rotate plane solver. You need to put it on. It's always in single chain unless otherwise stated. So if you want to twist his knees round and stuff, you can do that way. So it works particularly for knees and elbows. If your arm isn't exactly where you want it to be, use that system in order to do it. So we're going to move him around. I'm going to move his back a bit and up. Just going to use that there. Let's just look at it from the front, see what's going on. Let's find his locators, just move that up there. And his leg's gone a bit goofy. Just using twist again. And just going to move these arms up and about. Oops. Just gonna let's have a look. Get him into a sort of more interesting dynamic pose. Just turn his head a bit. Oops. Let's have a look. Again, I think we've got a bit of a twist in his geometry there. We need to take his head and make sure it's completely assigned to one bone. Going to rename this bone to head. Gonna open up this what do you call it? Component editor. select these verts in here. Just going to grow those verts in there. Again, probably have to reopen this so that it actually works. Where did I put it? There it is. There it is. And I'm going to select these by holding down Shift. Type in 1 and everything's fully assigned. Notice that if I undo that, they'll pop out of shape because some of these verts are assigned to the chest. Okay, so we're just going to just redo that. And then they pop back into shape. So here is our guy. He's in a slightly more dynamic pose. We've taken the proportions from our original drawing here, so it should be pretty good for that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bake the skin here. So I'm going to go to skin, detach skin, and make sure that you bake the history. If you delete the history, it'll pop back into its original shape, but if you bake it, it will keep in this shape. So I'm going to bake the history. You can keep it if you want to do other stuff to it and you want to detach it. You can keep the history. I just want to bake it for now. The history is going to enable you so that if you want to make adjustments to it later and you've made a mistake and you're like, oh shit, I need to change it and move it to somewhere else, you can just go to bake history. If you've kept the history, you rebind it and it will remember everything and how you originally did it. So I'm going to keep the history. I'm going to apply. Oops, I just said it the wrong way. I'm going to bake history and apply. There we go, and there he is, baked. And now what I can do is go to export selection. There's my original ball there. I'm going to call this guy Matt. Export selection. And now in Photoshop, I'm going to go new file. Let's have a look. Okay, I'm going to 3D, new 3D layer from file, and it should be in there somewhere. I need it to be an OBJ. There he is. Open. Okay. And there's my model there. And I can just change the light here, which is what I want to do. Where's he gone? Yeah, I can just grab the middle there. There we are. Okay. Whoops. Just gonna orbit around him. So now what I can do, in the same principle as before, I can take this guy, create a new layer, and he's my handy little maquette now, and I can start sketching him. I can take him. Opacity works in exactly the same way. Knock the opacity down, and now I can take this guy. In fact, take this guy here, so I've got some reference of what everything's supposed to look like. Drag him down, so he's nice and small. And I can take this guy and start sketching over the top using this guy's reference. So if I'm doing his collar and things, I can, start sketching that in there. Whoopsie. So just creating the collar, just creating the neck in there. So I can just generally create the shapes that I want. Put in his tie and his waistcoat in there, and so I can start sketching out all these different bits and putting them together. And that is basically, whoops, that's the idea. It's not a substitute for doing like if you like the proper drawing. It's just can be a lot easier, a lot quicker to do, especially if you've got a time pressing and you've got a lot of poses to do. Then this can be sort of a handy way of creating your character and getting some quite complex poses out of it. And you'll always know that your perspective is always going to be correct, and your proportions are always going to be correct as well. Let's have a look. Just get his face in there. It's going to be a bad job of it, but you'll get the general idea. So there he is. So that's my guy. And it means now that you've got this character, provided you save a copy before you bake everything. And that's a really important point. Save the skeleton before you bake it. Save the model so you've got a reference. You can change your character, do loads of different poses with it, and it's just going to be a quick way of getting loads of poses out of your for any 2D animation that you wanted to draw that's quite complex. And that's basically it.